Hey you guys, this is my first attempt at a video tutorial for a sourdough bread recipe. I use the recipe from Cooks Illustrated. I have their cookbook because they're my favorite company. So they have a really great 24-hour sourdough bread recipe. I think that it actually takes about 36 hours because I will start my recipe at night so that the starter can refresh overnight. Then the next day I go through the whole thing, let it sit in the fridge overnight, and then bake it the next morning. So I started refreshing last night, which was Sunday night. And then today I'm gonna go through the recipe, pausing the video during the rest times so that you don't have to sit for hours while these things rise. So my loaves will be ready tomorrow morning, which would be Tuesday morning. So to start, this is my starter. When I'm not refreshing it, I always keep it in the fridge. It'll stay dormant. It's one of those things where you refresh it to feed it, basically. It brings it kind of back to life, makes it more active, bubbly. And then you always just want to keep some in your fridge for next time. So what I do is take 1 cup of my sourdough that's sitting in the fridge, 1 cup of water, mix those together in, I usually use my KitchenAid bowl because it has a cover, and then add 1.5 cups of flour. So it's a 1, 1, 1.5 ratio. I cover it, sit it on the counter overnight in this, and then the next morning it looks like this, nice and bubbly and alive. So from there, the next step, step 2, is creating the sponge. So this is all your active sourdough. And what you want to do is from there, you take 1/2 cup of what you just refreshed. So you take half. I usually just scoop it right out of there and kind of level it off. And you don't have to be super accurate about it because nobody's going to notice. It's not going to taste much different. So I put 1/2 in here. Yes, I don't know if I said, but this step, the amounts you do are 1/2 cup of the refreshed starter, 1/2 cup of water, and I usually mix those together so it's not all chunky. And I do it in this order because I think that there was one time I did it where I might have done the flour and water first or something. I switched up the order and it didn't come out, the consistency wasn't the same. It got kind of weird or floury, or so I usually just try to stick with this. I mix these two pretty thoroughly. So it's 1/2 cup of the refreshed starter, 1/2 cup of water, and then 1 cup of flour. Similar to when you're refreshing it, it's just the ratios are a little bit different because you're doing it basically, the initial one is 1, 1, 1.5, and this one is 1/2, 1/2, 1. So with this is the easiest part. So I put, this is kind of what it looks like at the moment. Not the best angle, but you mix all this together and it looks similar to what you did the night before. I think it's a bit drier because is it a bit drier? You have, yeah, I think it's a bit drier because the ratio is different. So you just kind of mix this together, and after that step, you cover it and just let it sit on the counter for a couple hours so that the bacteria can do its work a little bit. And while this is sitting, so this is what it looks like. It just kind of looks like pizza dough. So what you do is you cover this, let it sit on the counter for a couple hours, and then your refreshed the rest of it, you can either take some of it and put it back in the fridge and toss the rest. Sometimes I give some of this away. You just always want to retain a little bit. So I usually keep a cup so I can refresh it and do the same recipe the next time and have leftover. So we're gonna let this sit for a couple hours and then I will be back to do step 2.